think that there should be easier ways for people to have access to water.
We have 1% that we're actually able to use for agriculture, consumption, food production. All those things are all in that 1% that 7 billion people have to share.
I mean, everyone should have access to water, but they just don't because they were unlucky enough to be born there.
Americans use 82 gallons of water versus African countries. A lot of them only use 4 gallons of water because they have to transport.
Of having to walk, take long journeys and walk 3 or 4 hours just to get the little bit of water that they can procure for their families.
And then walk back to their village with many gallons of water on their back.
So as American citizens, we're only spending 0.5% of our income on water supply a year, whereas somebody like in Honduras has to spend 25% of their income a year on water.
So getting water is pretty much a daily struggle.
On an international scale, water scarcity has become a major issue. In Egypt, water pollution causes 30 to 60 deaths per 1,000 people. Nearly 40% of Egyptians lack basic sewage and sanitation systems necessary to keep pollutants out of the water supply. And about 350 industries dump wastewater into the Nile River, from which Egypt receives 97% of its water. Water resources are so limited here that some farmers use untreated sewage to irrigate their crops. A new dam being built by the Ethiopian government that will draw a considerable amount of water from the Nile is going to make this crisis even worse, dehydrating the population even further. Lack of water resources leads to an economic and health crisis for Egypt, and people will start dying.
The importance of staying hydrated is not just an international issue, but a local issue as well. I journeyed down to our school's indoor track team to find out more.
As a runner, I believe that it's very important to stay hydrated because it's important to replenish your body and also flush out the lactic acids after you've run, otherwise it'll lead to cramping.
You need to keep your muscles hydrated because it helps with recovery. It can also, so when we exercise out here, we create lactic acid in the muscles, and that can cause tightness or fatigue in their legs. That is from lactic acid. So being hydrated can actually help flush the lactic acid out of your system quicker. The hydrated muscles are more flexible. It leaves you less prone to injury in terms of cramping, pulling muscles. The drier a muscle is, the more taut and tight it can get and can leave you more susceptible to sprains, strains, and tears.
For one race in cross country, I didn't drink enough and I ended up nearly collapsing at the end, at the finish line.
It can actually lead to hospital visits, and in some instances, if it's severe enough, people can die from it.
Dehydration is a global issue, with the possibility of Lake Mead shrinking threatening to turn Las Vegas into a ghost town, continued California droughts, and the epidemic of women giving up their time for education to gather water for their families.
Well, in America, we don't really have a shortage of water. I mean,
You can turn a switch and then instantly have pouring water.
I believe that high schoolers can change things. Working for technical institutes or coming up with groundbreaking inventions is possible for people.
It's good for you to maybe start thinking about ways that you can conserve, lower toilet flushing, also things such as shower about what you're doing when you're brushing your teeth, turn off water, things like that.
We have motivation and we have it in our minds that we can change things, and if we learn to communicate better with different parts of the world that are suffering from lack of water, then we can help them deal with that and can become a force to be reckoned with.
You know, the glass is half full, so everybody there's opportunities for everyone to help conserve water and save it for future generations.